Australia in the 1950s was in some ways a better time. We were captivated by cars. You could up and go anywhere your family needed. The 1950s began Australia's love affair with the Chinese-inspired Chicka Roll, and the decade we decided to sign the Refugee Convention. We decided from that moment forward, putting penalties on those seeking asylum just wasn't giving everyone a fair go. But if you look at the politics of recent times,
I believe we are in danger of being swamped by Asians. They have their own culture and religion, form ghettos and do not assimilate. Of course I will be called racist, but if I can invite who I want into my home, then I should have the right to have a say in who comes into my country.
We will decide who comes to this country and the circumstances in which they come.
The government plans to remove the entire Australian mainland from the migration zone. In 2006, John Howard tried to introduce the same legislation. Labor fought it furiously, calling it ludicrous and harsh, and won.
Staying on our national character. These are difficult decisions for everybody, but
From now on, any asylum seeker who arrives in Australia by boat will have no chance of being settled in Australia as refugees.
If you have a valid claim, you will not be resettled in Australia. You will never live in Australia.
As both sides of the parliament now accept, is offshore processing at Nauru and at Marnus. Any other government, I suspect, would quickly succumb to the cries of the human rights lawyers and others.
We want to determine who comes to Australia and the circumstances in which they come. We cannot be misty-eyed about this.
They won't be numerate or literate in their own language, let alone English, and these people would be taking Australian jobs, there's no question about that.
Pressure the government to say no more Muslims in Australia, no more Muslim refugees in Australia.
the attitude difference is shocking, and it feels as if we have lost something. Through the years, no matter the government, little has changed but our decision whether to keep people in offshore limbo. We keep tolerating these
Harsh measures. Some would say they're cruel measures.
that created situations like
cutting down anybody who wants to commit self-harm by way of hanging or whatever. I've only had to do it a few times, but some guys have done it a lot more.
I saw a 6-year-old girl who tried to hang herself with a fence tie and had marks around her neck. I've never seen a child self-harm of that age before.
A 21-year-old Somali asylum seeker is in a critical condition in Royal Brisbane Hospital after setting herself on fire on Nauru. Hoden Yassin suffered extensive burns just days after being returned to the island following medical treatment in Australia. On Friday, a male Iranian asylum seeker died in the same hospital after also self-immolating on Nauru. The Immigration Minister blamed refugee advocates.
Today, the federal government flew a pregnant refugee out of the country as an injunction application was made to keep her in Australia. The 23-year-old Somali woman, referred to as Abian, alleges she became pregnant after she was raped by an unknown assailant in July on Nauru. Abortions are against the law in Nauru, so Abian couldn't have the termination on the island.
this year, we can reclaim our choice. Say yes to humanity and no to offshore detention. Keep both Labour and Liberal out of your 6 Senate preferences.
Clearly our solution was, well, it wasn't only farcical, it was immoral.